It is time for another episode of Pottawattamie County Roots. I am Todd Studer, and this gentleman sitting across the table from me is Dennis Gunderson, and he is running for Pottawattamie County Supervisor. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it today.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk a little bit first about your background. What had led you to this place where you're now running for county supervisor? So what are some of the different things you've done?
Okay. I've been in the business world for 48 plus years, most of that in the insurance, life insurance specifically. I'm an underwriter and I still work full time. Mm-hmm. And I also own, with my daughter-in-law, I own a small business, a hair salon in Omaha.
Okay.
My background, education, I have my bachelor's and my master's, and I'm working on my doctorate. Otherwise, community involvement. When my kids were going to Riverside in Oakland, Carson, my wife and I were both very much involved in the school and sports activities with them.
Sure.
So we were in charge of the booster club there. I was assistant basketball coach for the boys high school team.
When was this?
My son's probably been out 15 years ago.
Okay.
And then I served on the school board for 3 years, and 2 of that as the president of the school board.
The reason I was asking is in a previous life, I used to do sportscasting.
Okay.
And I did more than one game at Riverside. So I was just trying to remember, but this actually goes back probably close 25 years ago, though. So that would have been previous.
That was previous.
Yeah, that would have been previous.
My last year there, we went to state. We got destroyed up at state, but yeah, we did.
It happens to a lot of teams. Yeah,
we did pretty well, but yeah, we went to state. That was my last year. My son had just graduated. I stayed a year longer, and then that was it. So it was probably 15 years ago.
So do you still live in that school district?
I do.
Still in the Riverside district?
We do. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at some point, you had to decide. You know what? Want to throw my hat into the ring here for County Board of Supervisors. What was the conversations like, and even whether it be with family or friends or even with just yourself, that led you to that?
So when I went around and I decided I was going to do something different because I'm kind of retiring out of the insurance business. I'm still working, but I'm going to be retiring out of it. I went around and started getting signatures for to get on the ballot, mm-hmm. and everybody kept saying to me, "You're nuts. Why would you want to be part of that chaotic mess, et cetera?" Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons I want to get on there is, those people are in charge of a lot of money. That board's in charge of a lot of money and a lot of responsibility over the people that live in this county. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this is just get some sanity in there on the board at this point. So that was a big reason.
Did you get any feedback from people as you were getting those signatures of things that they would want to see the board address?
Just behavior, and then decision-making, which are some of the platform items I wanted to talk about, but just behavior of the board members. Every time it comes on the Omaha news about the board, it's like cringe time. It's like, oh my God, what did they do now? So that kind of thing, bothered me, and it bothered a lot of people I talked to, just having, a board that is professional and makes solid decisions.
You mentioned some of the different issues that are important to you and things that you would like to see addressed. Talk about some of those. What is it that stands out that you feel challenges the county is facing that you'd want to help with?
Well, again, I think the board has lost, or the people have lost all respect in the board in terms of the behavior of some of the board members. So one of the things I want to do is try to bring back some respect, some professionalism to the board that people can count on. The other thing I wanted to bring back is just some methodology or framework on how decisions are made by the board when they're presented with projects or whatever. How do they evaluate those? How do they make a decision, and then how do they communicate that to the people that live in the county? And then third, transparency, that those decisions are made. They should be able to communicate that to the rest, the residents of the county, in terms of what they looked at, how they looked at it, and what they decided. So those are the 3 items: professional behavior, some methodology that's consistent on decision making, and then communicating or being transparent with the residents of the county.
You are running on the Democratic ticket.
Correct.
And we all know, I think everyone knows, that everyone on the board is on the opposite side. They are currently Republicans. So as you take a look at that, what are some of the things and challenges you feel you might face in order to kind of break through that?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. I don't align necessarily making decisions about who to elect on a board with national tags or parties. That's national stuff that doesn't trickle down to this local level. I think people here should elect people based on the person, not on the party. So if they're basing it on the party and the national decisions that that party's making, then they're making a wrong decision, in my opinion. They should evaluate the candidate and base it on that, not what party they're. And I'm not apologizing for being Democratic. Don't get me wrong, but you shouldn't align me with what the Democrats in Washington are doing, because that it doesn't trickle down to this local level.
It is one of those things I've always been curious about. The Board of Supervisors is they do want you to declare a party, but like a city council or a mayor, typically those are nonpartisan roles. So it's I don't know. I just always thought it was kind of strange that the parties were still associated at that level or at a county level.
Yeah, I thought about declaring independent, but on the other hand, it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with being a Democrat. I'm not ashamed of it, so I decided to align or mark as a Democrat. But yeah, I agree with you. It's the person, the candidate, not the party. But
Is that a conversation that you've had to have with anyone? Because I do know that, listen, there are some people that are hardliners. That's how they approach things, and I believe this on both sides. That if you knock on someone's door and they're the opposite party, it can be difficult to even have that conversation. Period. Is this something that you anticipate, or maybe you have already addressed, in how to overcome that?
so, no, I haven't. But one thing I'm going to have to address is putting yard signs out, and friends who I know are Republicans to go up and ask them, could I put my yard sign? But no, and again, if that question comes up, I would say, vote on the issues, vote on the candidate. Don't vote on what Washington, D.C. is doing. So,
Yeah, and it's with this being not a national election year, although in the state of Iowa we are voting for a governor
well,
this year, so that's gonna
yeah,
I think that's gonna get more people out.
but the midterms could prove to be important.
Well,
Control of the House, potentially. I mean, I don't want to get into national stuff, but I
Right.
mean, it could be an important election.
Well, it is an important election, but at the same time, historically, it has been less people vote
Attended, yeah.
on those. But I don't know. I'm starting to feel more of a shift towards that. And there seems to be a lot more people that are getting engaged now over what you would typically see on a year like this. At least that's my vantage point.
I agree. I think people are engaged, and that's a good thing, right?
I would 100% agree with that. One of the issues that keeps coming up with everybody, all the candidates for the Board of Supervisors that I've talked to, is the issue of wind turbines. And with should we be having those in different areas across the county? Where do you stand on that?
So, to me, in my mind, wind turbines are linked to data centers. Not maybe necessarily 100% linked, but data centers, we've got one in place and working on two. And my son's an electrician, and he's working on one of them, so he's getting employment from them. Those things use a lot of electricity. And at least the limited amount of research I've done on data centers is they pull the equivalent, each one pulls the equivalent of 20,000 homes times three, that's 60,000 homes. That's probably Council Bluffs.
That'd be more than Council Bluffs, I
Council
think.
Bluffs.
Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause our population is
that's going to
60,000.
be a huge
Yeah.
demand on the grid. My question is, what's Mid-America going to do to meet that demand? Are they going to increase that coal fire? Or are they going to put up nuclear? Well, that ain't going to happen quickly. Or is it going to be wind turbines? What I don't want is electric bills to go up. Everything I'm reading from the Northeast, United States that have data centers, their electric bills double and triple. So I'm very concerned about what the demand on the grid from these data centers is going to do to our electric bills. Is part of that solution wind turbines? Could be. I appreciate renewable energy and I support it. I know there are people that don't like it. What I don't want to happen if wind turbines are Mid-America's solution or part of their solution to this is I don't want to force people to have one in their field or if their farm. I mean, that's not right either. Eminent domain is not where I want to go with wind turbines. But if you are okay with having one in on your place, then you should be allowed to have one. I just don't think you should exclude the whole area from wind turbines just because you don't like them. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm for them, but you shouldn't be forced to have them on your land if you don't want one.
I do see your point, though, with getting the information in ahead of time, because if the data center is there and then there's a need for electricity, that knocks some options down, right? I mean, now you're looking at, we really don't have a choice in some cases.
Right. Well, isn't Council Bluffs is faced with this issue too? Didn't the mayor try to put up a vote towards
she was asking
pausing?
She was asking for a moratorium for a year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think we need to know about these data centers and what kind of impact they have on our communities. I'd hate to see us just throw these things up and then we're sitting there with electric bills that are astronomical.
Pottawattamie County Roots brought to you by Dave Lawrence, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Learn how he can help you reach your financial goals. Visit edwardjones.com for more. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Your home for all natural health solutions in Southwest Iowa is Bambi's Green Acres Natural Market. Serving the area since 1997, Bambi is located at 805 South Main Street in Council Bluffs and has a wide selection of vitamins, supplements, essential oils, herbal remedies, and a lot more. Staffed with over 37 years of experience, Bambi is putting health back in your hands. Explore your wellness options online at bambisgreenacres.com. Let's circle back to when you decided to run. You went around and you got all of the signatures. Now, you were in a situation where you didn't have to worry about the primary. Right. There was just two candidates on the Democratic side. And since there's 3 open seats, that means a maximum of 3 could have gone through. So have you done much on the campaigning side yet, or is now the time to get out and start doing that?
So I'm just starting. No, I have not, to answer your question. The plan is we're going to go do a couple parades, probably Underwood, Oakland. Then I'm going to get more involved. We'll probably do some meet and greets locally and start putting up a yard sign. So to answer your question, no, but yeah, I need to ramp it up.
Yeah. And I'm also wondering about the balance between, obviously,
part of why I'm here is
right. Exactly. Exactly. I'm also wondering about the balance because Council Bluffs obviously has the largest population of any of the communities and going around, but it's a small percentage land-wise when you consider how big of a county we have. Right. So that it has to be tough to figure out, all right, where am I going to do the focus of my campaigning? You live out in a rural area.
Correct.
So obviously there's a reason for that, and you have a passion for that type of lifestyle. So figuring out where to canvas and where to put the most energy at, I would think would have to be a pretty tough decision.
So I'm going to put a big sign. I live right on Highway 6. I'm going to put a big sign on Highway 6 on my land. And then my brother, he lives up by 680, the interstate, up by Beebeetown.
Yeah.
In Pot County, but he's going to put one on the side of his building that faces the interstate. So
you got a little bit of
leg stuff going on. But the meet and greets I'm going to do are going to be in Council Bluffs too. You're right; it has to be primarily focused in where the most people are, and that's in Council Bluffs. So.
Yeah, but as I said, it's a tough balance.
Yeah,
to be able to. Let me ask you this then, because there has been some questions in the past about where board supervisors should be in relation to what part of the county. Where do you stand on? Should that be divided up? Should it matter? What do you think about that?
I don't know that it matters. You mean people that live rurally?
Should there certain segments of the county have a member on the board versus just a general election across everywhere?
Yeah, I don't know that I feel one way or the other about that. I think, again, I'm going to go back to the candidate. If you're comfortable with a candidate can represents both the rural and the urban, I don't think that's an issue. But
Service Master Restore by Schmader knows it can be hard to get things back to normal when you've suffered serious property damage due to flooding, fire, or smoke. and that can oftentimes lead to mold, and you may be left with all sorts of questions about how to get your home or business back to normal. It's easy. You give Cindy Schmader a call with Service Master Restore by Schmader. Her phone number, 402-339-9911. Primrose Retirement Community in Council Bluffs believes home should be a place of comfort, connection, and care. From personalized support to engaging daily activities, everything they do is designed to help residents live fully and confidently. At Primrose, that's their priority, to put the quality of their residents' care and daily needs at the top of their list each day and every day. It's not just about where you live, it's about how you live. Learn more about life at Primrose by going to primroseretirement.com and then contact Jamie Bush at Primrose and discover a place that truly puts people first. So this is not the first time that you've been on a ballot. You said that you were elected to a school board.
Right.
Is this the first time that you've been in this competitive of a race?
It is, yeah. The fact that I was on the ballot at the school board thing meant you got elected, but this is not something that people want to do. But yeah,
Right.
this will be the first time it's been competitive for me.
Has it changed mentally your approach? I mean, as you're thinking about this, of how you want to reach people?
I have to be prepared, and I have to have my platform ready and being able to defend it and discuss it. Yeah, so that when you're on the board, the high school or the school board, you don't have to worry about that stuff. But yeah, here I've got to have it pretty well thought out how I'm gonna where I stand and how I can communicate that.
Well, and how about moving from? I mean, the folks in Oakland obviously knew who you were being
Right.
on the school
Yep.
board, but
Yep.
now this is much higher.
Right.
A lot more visibility,
Right.
and a lot more people seeing you. So, how do you feel that transition is going to be for you?
I think I'm fairly well known. My name is fairly well known out in the rural areas, at least in Oakland and Trainer and Underwood and Neola. But in Council Bluffs, I mean, I know a few people. But yeah, that's why I'm going to do the meet and greets here and do as much campaigning as I possibly can here. My brother's going to help me put some yard signs out in the city here, so hopefully I get my name out here. But yeah, I mean, I got to focus on the Council Bluffs.
Yeah, that yard sign thing is it's. I've always wondered about that, and maybe you can help me a little bit, because this is not the first time you've run. You probably had yard signs before. That okay, I can see your name, and sometimes I can see your party, but I can see what office you're running for. But other than that,
You don't know.
it's tough to learn.
Yeah.
It's tough to learn anything, but yet it still seems to be the most effective way, because if it wasn't,
Yeah.
no one would be doing it.
So social media, I think, is becoming more effective.
Yeah.
In a web page. But even social media, my Facebook page, I look every day and I'm getting looks, a lot more looks. So I know people are looking at my Facebook page. I need to get my web page out there, but probably social media will overtake the yard sign at some point.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that, because yard signs, my daughter-in-law is pushing me to get them done and get them out there, but it's like, well, by November they'll be destroyed. We'll have like 10 hurricane or tornadoes by then, and they'll
Well,
be
not
gone.
just that, but they're pulled up and down every time somebody mows, and
Yeah.
and all of that. So it does
Yeah.
take a lot.
So yeah, my push will be social media instead of yard signs. We'll put a few out, but yeah, it's going to have to be this kind of a venue.
And well, I've made the transition myself. I mean, I was in the media for decades and just traditional style, and now I make my living pretty much on social media.
Yeah, I don't think it's age dependent anymore. I think there was a time when, my mom wouldn't even know what a Facebook page is, but I think people are pretty much attuned to what social media is, at least at Facebook and those
Yeah.
types of things.
Well,
So,
the phrase I use is, like it or not, we live in a TikTok world.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just how it is. People are consuming information 30 seconds at a time. So
right.
reaching people that way has really become key,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. The challenge is, at least from a viewer standpoint, is knowing what's real and what's not real. And I don't think a lot of people get that yet. There's a lot of bad stuff out there. But
I
yeah.
don't know if we've gone far enough where we're starting to see deep fakes and AI generated board of supervisor candidate stuff. I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but
At this level.
with everything else that we're seeing, it's probably coming. I don't know if this election cycle or not, but yeah, it can be tough, and they're getting better and better.
Yeah,
You know, I can typically still spot an AI voice pretty easily, but I also know that, because I just heard one the other day, and somebody said that that's AI, and I said, I'm not sure. If it is, look out.
Yeah.
'Cause
It's getting good. They're getting better at it, but you can tell the spelling sometimes is a
Hmm.
little off, and just the grammar's off, and the images are a little bit distorted. So yeah, it's still not there, but it's getting close.
Yeah, it is. One of the things that we can always tell, especially locally, is that they spell Pottawattamie at the end OMIE instead of AMI, because I see that out there, and I say, "Yeah, you're not.
Real.
We know.
You're not real. Yeah.
No, yeah, you gave yourself away, so we'll just let you keep doing that." Well, let me ask you, Dennis, if you had an opportunity, let's say you're knocking on somebody's door and you've got however long, 30 seconds to 60 seconds to make your case of why someone should vote for you. What's that conversation going to be? What are you going to say?
Well, and again, you have to think about that. And I guess one thing I would say is, are you happy with what the current board's doing? And if it's time for a change, most people are probably going to say. So, my thing is to say, hey, I'm a professional, I'm educated. My biggest priority to get in there and stabilize it and make it respectable and start making good decisions. That would be my primary thing to tell people is
Well, I
it's
think
time to get some professionals on there.
I think you're going to have an opportunity to say that a bunch of times coming up pretty soon, because door knocking does seem to still be a very effective way of doing
Yeah.
it. So I'm sure that's going to be on your list as well. I'm grateful that you reached out, because to be honest with you, I didn't know how to reach you. And I have, and because your Facebook page is fairly new, you just recently got that
Yeah.
going. But having folks like you who are willing to step up and say, all right, I'm going to put my hat into the ring here, knowing that it's not always a lot of fun. Campaigning uh, is not, it's just not something that I would ever consider something that would be part of my to-do list for the day. But we do need people willing to do it. And we need people willing to step up and say, okay, this is what I believe. I want to give voters a choice, and I want to be one of those choices. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for your willingness to get in and serve. You've already done it with a school board, and now wanting to jump into this arena as well. So very grateful for that.
All right. Thank you.
And we also are very grateful for you for watching this episode of Pottawattamie County Roots. Also, we want to say thank you to our hometown sponsors, and that includes Brewed Awakening in Avoca. Great coffee shop. You should stop by and see Bella and have some of her coffee and scones or whatever else she has there for the day. And if you would please hit like, share, follow, maybe even subscribe if the platform you're watching gives you that option, because it helps get Dennis's information out even further, and more people can see what it is that he's talking about here and can stay connected to everything that's happening here close to home. My name is Todd Studer. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time.